We're a little late today. I think, you know, in the new year, the tech gods are not with us, but we're so excited today because, this is something that I think as we're sitting in our homes, we're all dreaming. We're all dreaming about all the places that we would love to go to, all the places that we could visit, what's on our bucket list. So before we get started, I want to ask all of you guys a question. And my first question to all of you is that whether solo travel is on your bucket list. And if it is, please do tell us where you would love to go because we'd love to hear from you, kind of get the stage set and saying, okay, you know what? How many people are excited before we start talking about where is it that we're going to take you to in this very, very adventurous journey? And we're so excited that Wiki is doing this. So they are the Rural Tourism Council in Wiki that promotes and advances rural tourism in the country. It does a lot of skill development initiatives. It does business networking and recommendations to relevant authorities. And Kavya, who is with us, and she's one of our special travel bloggers and knows all about it, will tell us a little bit more about Wiki and rural tourism. Kavya, over to you for a bit.
Thanks, Sukriti. Such a great evening to be here with all of you. And hi to all my fellow Rural Wiki members. It is such a pleasure to be, talking about Wiki. I got inducted as heading the tribal tourism of the Wiki. Wiki stands for Women Indian Chamber of Commerce and Industry, just like an arm of Wiki. However, the Wiki rural tourism primarily focuses on bringing a lot of rural activities onto contemporary narratives, right from community outreach programs to being representatives for respective government bodies. We also have different councils that give policy suggestions to the statutory authorities time to time. And apart from that, obviously, a lot of content, a lot of small brand support, and there's a lot that happens. Apart from that, in general, Rural Wiki has different state council heads and definitely more niche council heads. Like I represent tribal, Lakshmi here represents the content part, and so on. So yeah, there's a lot to be done. If in case you feel that you wish to collaborate with us, I think Lakshmi is the right person. We have Priya also, who's very active, and then Neha. So yeah, that's a little about Wiki, and we'll be hearing more of that today.
No, we're so excited because today we have done something very different. We've got not only are
Amazing,
there
thank you.
not only are they Wiki members, but they're also the top bloggers. And today, what we're going to take you through is 8 destinations, four of them which are their favorites, and four of them which they think are good. Possibly, I asked them for what a solo traveler could go to and could do. But before we get started, I thought what we would do is learn a little bit because we have a lot of notions in our heads about what is solo traveler, should I do it, should I not? And I said, let's learn a little bit about each of our four travelers. So first we've got our panelists. We've got Priya Anand. She is the silver trekker. She's a social conscious traveler who believes that experiences make the best assets. It is the journey and not the destination that's important. We've got Lakshmi Sharath with Travel with Lakshmi. She's a storyteller, a mindful traveler, a media professional from Bangalore who believes that the journey is the destination and people make places. We've got Kavya Saxena at Crazy Feet Kavya. She's India's rural content creator. She's a craft consultant and a coach at the NAS Academy. And we've got Neha Sharma at Feet Beyond Roads. She's with us, but unfortunately we can't see her because she's having a little bit of problem with her camera. She's a wanderer, a traveler, a nomad who's spreading the spirit of travel through my travel stories. So to kick us off, we're going to start with a rapid fire round. And we're going to do this rapid fire to get ourselves a little acquainted with these four members and a little bit about solo travel. So the first question to you, Neha, why solo travel?
Hi everyone. First of all, sincere apologies. My video is not on. Goof up at the last minute. Nevertheless, really excited to speak about solo travel, something I'm really passionate about. I'll give a brief introduction myself. I've been in the travel industry for the last 10 years and I have worked with major giants like Make My Trip, Pagoda, Klook, and Karnataka Tourism. I also run my own website, that is Feet Beyond Roads, spreading my travel stories. So, why solo travel? So you all must be really excited to always travel with your friends, with groups. But why travel solo? Because it gives you a lot of confidence. Trust me, it makes you a lot more confident. Stepping out of your comfort zone will always make you more confident and more empowered. And firstly, you don't have to wait for anyone, right? Whenever you are up for an adventure, you are your own boss.
That's so awesome. I know
I
I still
mean,
have to do it. I mean, I did a lot of business travel, so that was kind of my solo travel, but I have never taken that thing of saying, oh, I'm going to solo travel. Kavya, this one is for you. So tell us, what is that one thing you discovered about yourself? Because we always keep hearing these stories that solo travel is about discovery.
So, guys, I come from a very small town of Bikaner in Rajasthan. And while I'll not delve into the personal family things that I went through, I was always this shy girl who used to feel that, oh my God, the big cities, the girls have so much freedom to do what they want to do, right from choosing the kind of friends, the schools, and even subjects in class 10th. And
Lakshmi, you're breaking, so
And
maybe
I
you can
always
just.
used to compare. But once, my family had. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can. You're a
yes.
little bit
Am I
breaking up.
audible?
Yes, you are.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, I think so. I was at this point where my family shifted to Delhi, and then obviously I changed schools. Then Delhi University happened. I moved to Chennai for my MBA, and since that time, obviously, next was a series of jobs that I did. I started to discover that you start making opinions about everything and taking responsibility. And I think that was the best part of solo travel, that you start owning up things on your own. More than adventure, more than learnings, it is that you start taking so much responsibility and owning up your decisions. And that was the best thing that happened to me.
Now, Lakshmi, this is the one, and I just think this is the tough one. What's the next destination on your list?
Hi, hi everyone. Lakshmi Sharath here. I think, I said journey is the destination. So that is the destination. We are all waiting to start traveling again after the pandemic in a much more fruitful, more mindful manner. The current travels are not really mindful because we are only mindful of the pandemic and the mask around us. I'm focusing mostly on I always believe that people make places, and I'm primarily a storyteller. So for me, I'm looking at doing a lot more of backyard travels. I'm looking at traveling to my neighborhood, traveling to places around Bangalore to begin with, in my own backyard, which is I've started traveling when I took a sabbatical from media. I was a media professional for almost 12 to 13 years, and I quit on a high when I was I was like a VP of a company, and one day I just woke up and said, I'm done with my career. And the first thing I did was I went traveling into rural Karnataka. And and I did a solo travel, and I visited almost 30 Hoysala temples. But more than the historic aspect, it was meeting people, listening to their stories, having a cup of coffee with them, chatting with them. That mattered so much to me. And I personally want to start doing that again. That probably would be my next destination currently, given the lockdown scenario, which keeps coming on and off all the time.
The last one, the last rapid fire. Priya, do you ever get bored traveling solo?
No, I don't get ever get bored traveling solo. And thank you so much, Sukirti, for having me on the show. I think when you're ready to travel solo, you know the pros and cons of it. And then, for me, it's always been a combination of work and pleasure. So I've always found somebody whom I can talk to when I travel solo. I always find the right company, and I'm able to meet people, and it's a way of meeting local people, understanding their culture, and talking about the experiences that they've had. And then it's also about, I think, you know um, besides that, being prepared. So I always I'm waiting for a good story, or I'm sketching, or I in case I absolutely have nothing to do and I haven't met anybody, then I have a book with me, and I always have my trusty iPad in hand, and of course taking photographs. So I don't think one ever needs to get bored on when one goes solo, because there's always so much to do and learn and absorb. So
Okay, now
yes, I think it doesn't make. Yeah, sure.
No, now for my next set. Now these have to be really quick. Okay, we want your off the cuff answers. So no. So first question we always get: should the solo traveler woman pretend to be married? Neha. Neha, are you with us?
Sukriti, can you repeat your question? I lost
Should
my
the
screen again.
solo traveler woman pretend to be married?
Oh, so that's a fun question. No, it shouldn't be the case. Why can't single women travel? That's not the case at all. Irrespective of your marital status, if you're married, you're married. You're single, you're single. So no, you should never.
Kavya, tell us about the stares and comments you've gotten.
I travel the villages of the country, and let me tell you guys, it's a very fun thing that when a girl travels solo in the villages of India, and I'm not talking about Masuri and even Ladakh and Delhi, you're taken very seriously. So I haven't encountered, or maybe, I cut my hair short, so I look one like them. Not categorizing and being genderphobic, but I think I've just attuned myself to the villages. So yeah, but it doesn't
So
matter, really. That's the answer.
that's awesome to know. Lakshmi, tell us what's the first reaction you got when you told people you were going to travel solo?
Are you mad? So but that was the first question. What's wrong with you? Or the second question is, can we come along? So yeah, these are the questions that we get. But I think I've always told people that I enjoy my company the most. I am my own favorite, Kareena Kapoor's dialogue with a little twist. So yeah, that's, these are some of the questions we get all the time, saying, what's wrong with you? Are you mad? Is it safe?
The last one to Priya. What's the biggest myth about solo travel? The biggest myth.
I think the biggest myth about solo traveling is that that it can be dangerous, and I think this is something every good Indian parent would would want to tell their daughter, because they wouldn't want them to do solo traveling. But I think it just depends on planning, and it just depends on being aware, as we always are, I think, because we've been warned from a young age about what we should do and shouldn't do. So I think it's just a question of trying to being careful. And I think the world has opened, and we've got to learn to trust people a little bit more. So I think that's the myth, that there's danger when you
Yeah,
travel
no, I mean,
solo.
I think that's the one that first comes to mind. The second one is the toilets. But so we'll come to that also. So, all right, Priya, let's start with you because we promised people the top 8 destinations from you guys. So,
Right.
Priya, my question to you, and what's your favorite destination and what should one keep in mind?
So my favorite destination, I think I have several favorite destinations, a little tough to decide which one I wanted to talk about, but I think the one I really want to talk about right now is Kotagiri. Kotagiri, as you know, is also part of the Nilgiris. Many people do know that, but mostly people go and visit Ooty, or they go and visit other places in the Nilgiris, but they don't look at Kotagiri as an option. And I think it's definitely a must do. And I think one of the things which I really found in Kotagiri, which is really amazing, was actually one is basically just looking at the longwood sholas which are there, because the longwood shola actually is something which is the indigenous the indigenous environment of the Nilgiris. Basically, it's been replaced a lot by tea plantations and the like, but these were how the Nilgiris originally were like before the British came in, and they put in tea plantations there. And you do see it in some of the upper regions of the Nilgiris. So if you go there, the Longwood Chola is one place that one must definitely visit. It's beautiful because it's got these short evergreen trees, as well as it's got these grassy slopes, and it's an absolutely beautiful place to visit. The other thing which is also there is actually the memorial which is there, which you have to visit, because it's actually the memorial which is actually for the person who actually started who actually built Ooty, or sort of developed Ooty, because he was the one who went in there and actually discovered Ooty. And this is definitely a place that one must visit. The other thing thing is also that the thing about Kotagiri is it's a small town, so it's a charming little town, and it's got these lovely it's really surprising because we went there. I actually had a gaur come into the town, and it's amazing to see that, which something which is coming from the wilderness into the town. Of course it's dangerous, but it was really such a unique sight to see, and the locals just didn't seem bothered about it, and they said that this is a common thing which happens there. So for me, Kotagiri has been a very unique experience because it's also got these lovely NGOs which work there on conservation and environment, and so a lot of the produce and a lot of the culture and of the local tribes is also highlighted by these organizations. So if you do go to the Nilgiris, I would suggest that Kotagiri is a very, very interesting place to visit, and you must visit it.
Wow, thank you. I mean, so exciting. And I think we're getting some comments. Manasi is saying that Kotagiri is absolutely beautiful, one of my favorite places in the Nilgiris. So over to you, Lakshmi. Let's talk about risks and stranger danger and your favorite travel destination.
Well, I think the thing with stranger danger is there everywhere. I mean, it can even be on the street, when you go for your morning walks, because you never know who's going to, be around, lurking around. But I think when traveling, I think one of the first things one needs to keep in mind is that's why, be a little more mindful. I mean, yes, it's beautiful to get lost. And since Priya was talking about Shola, I remember literally being lost in Longwood Shola. And I almost got lost in the forest there doing a bit of bird watching. And in this case, I found a kind stranger who brought me back from the forest back to the land, back to the village. So I think it should always be mindful. Trust your gut, because you'll get a sense of who's going to be the kind stranger and who's not going to be the not so kind stranger. Always use common sense. For me, that's been one of my biggest companion when I travel solo, because you know where your common sense and your gut will tell you when things are not going to be safe, or when you need to just say abort and leave. So these are some of the pointers I would look at when we're talking about risks and meeting strangers. My favorite place, I would say, is, very difficult to pick any one favorite, like Priya had mentioned earlier. But recently I had been to Vizag, and I had not traveled too much in Visakhapatnam and Andhra at all, to be honest, except on work trips. And this time I wanted to go primarily because I wanted to look at some of the monasteries, the Buddhist monasteries, which are away from the city. I wanted to learn a little bit about the whole the ruins there, and do a little bit of and it was beautiful. And I was literally solo, because there was no one else there. You can see from the photo,
I
it was
can
almost
see
like
that. It's
going
looking
there and meditating.
serene.
and like no one around, I mean, for miles and miles. And so the hotel was generous enough to give me a car. So there was just me and the driver. And even he was not very aware of it. I mean, he knows the place, of course, but no one really goes there. But very well maintained, I must say. Totlakonda and Bavikonda are the names of these places. And they are on the way between, Vizag town and this very little charming, quaint little place called Bimli. It's a village, and it's on the coast. There's an estuary there, and you could see the fishing nets. And it also has a lot of colonial history. It has a lot of ancient history. There's a lot of little bit of biodiversity hotspots around. There's a lot of places where you can get red soil out there. And so we discovered quite a lot. We discovered a little bit of history, nature. I did a bit of my birding, lost myself talking to a lot of villagers out there, spent some time in Bimli, because Bimli is a very, very cute little town. It's barely an hour from Vizag. And I also love old fishing harbors. So in Vizag itself, I went to the old town, because a lot of people do not go to the old town. They see the beaches, and of course they experience the museums in Vizag. But the old town is very, very, very charming. And you know, we don't always have to go to rural areas to experience rustic flavor. Sometimes even within our own cities and towns, there are rural pockets and rustic pockets that gives you a sense of these. Vizag for me was a very amazing experience. It was something totally different from what I had normally experienced in many of the towns and cities that I had been to.
So Rajni is asking, can you repeat the name of the places where you visited the Buddhist monasteries?
It's called Totlakonda and Bavikonda.
Wow,
I
that sounds
brought
absolutely serene and amazing.
yeah,
I mean, very,
yeah.
very
There's a blog,
peaceful.
48 hours in Vizag, and you know it has all the details.
That's awesome. So next we go to Kavya, her favorite destination. And Kavya, where do you go online to get started to kind of plan your first trip? Kavya, did we lose her? Just checking if we've got Kavya.
Okay, guys, can you hear me? I think I
Yes.
was just muted by the host. Okay.
We love doing
Okay,
that.
thank you. So Kadi was like, okay, let's just shut everyone else.
Let me just
Okay.
talk.
Yeah. No, so guys, I just want to familiarize you that when I say that I'm a rural creator, I live in a forest currently in Orissa, and it did not happen overnight. I used to be like a Delhi dwelling girl who used to travel to villages and Ladakh and Mussoorie and the Goas and everything. And it happened so that I just took a sabbatical after first lockdown, and I took this massive journey, which you can Google up. It's called Kavya on Quest, which is one of a kind journey taken by a solo woman to map crafts across the country. And when I did that, I realized that there's a lot of information available about the northern part of the country, whereas the eastern and the southeastern, and as we go down, there is more, less, and even lesser trickling information. So I thought that if women can hike up the Mount Everest, they can do the most deadliest of the tasks. Why can't we travel to Eastern India? And I thought no one talks about traveling to Orissa, or no one talks about traveling to Jharkhand or Chhattisgarh. Why is that? And I thought that why shouldn't I do that? Because they are beautiful states. And that is what I'm going to talk about. So guys, we always talk about this whole sustainability aspect and kitna raw hai India and kitna beautiful hai. So while I was doing this massive journey for 8 months, every single day on the road with Kavya on Quest, I realized that I had never seen more beautiful states than Chhattisgarh and Orissa. So much so that when this journey ended in July 2021, I never went back to Gurgaon. I just made Odisha as my home. The reason why I'm saying that these places are amazing is because literally the tourist inflow is very less. There are maximum Adivasi population in these states. Obviously, it also comes with riders and narratives like, oh my God, Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh to bahut unsafe hai. There is, Naxal movements. But trust me, I have driven, lived, ate, stayed there for months, not even days, and never ever I had an issue. Obviously, incidents happen everywhere, just like they happen in Bombay, Delhi, but never had I seen that travel can be so raw, where literally people go and pick fruits and vegetables every day. They cook what is available, they weave what is necessary, they talk and they work as per their schedule and have a lot of me time, as what we say in urban India. They have a lot of community time. So I thought that probably what we always talk about, the narratives around travel, these forest people and these particular eastern states were literally living it up, which I felt somewhere, my own home state, Rajasthan, was somewhere lost in this whole tourist circuit. Even though I love Rajasthan, I that's my first love. But now, that being said, I feel that Chhattisgarh, Orissa has so much avenues. One lovely, lovely thing about these is the heart concept. Now, we always talk about these markets, but these particular eastern states still live up on those weekly heart. So it's like HAAT, where every community from the forest brings their produce and you can buy them. It not just has forest produce, but it'll have tribal weavers, it'll have ornaments, it'll have things made of, it'll have tribal jewelry, and it's like a khazana, literally. And it happens every week in every village, and you can literally just travel, moving around those hearts. And obviously there are waterfalls, there are hills. So even if, let's say, I pick up one state like Orissa, it has beach, it has Niamgiri hills, it has plains. So it's like all sort of landscape in one state, and I cannot ask for more. And I feel it's the most offbeat and raw and rural travel one can take. So
Now, Lata is
yeah.
asking a very interesting question. Safety is a big concern, and after all, you need money, lots and lots of it, people always assume. And how do you save yourself from robbers?
Okay, is that question for me?
Yes?
Okay. Okay, thank
I'm
you.
taking the questions as we go
Yes,
along.
yes. Thank you so much, guys. So I'll tell you right from my experience, because I was there on the road every single day for 8 months, as I said. Now, I'll tell you something very, very seriously, and some may feel bad about it, but I never shy away from saying the truth as is. If you are a solo woman who has very, very honest intention to actually explore, people take you very seriously. But if you're out there to just photograph and probably click pictures with villagers or things that attract you, they actually they assess your intention. So I would say that keep a lot of time with you. That's number one. How to manage safety? What I used to do is start your day really early. Wherever I'm traveling solo, whether it's Ladakh or Rajasthan or Chhattisgarh, Orissa, I always start my day around 6 a.m. and I reach my base maximum by 7 p.m. Wherever it's, let's say my base is village or a city or a hotel, it's irrespective of that. It's not because I feel unsafe. I just feel that I have more time in the sunlight to sort of explore. So that is second. Third, I would say very, very important is that you should always have a plan B with you, just in case plan A doesn't work, or you should always have that plan B, because when you're traveling solo, you cannot work on a bucket list that, okay, I need to tick off all of this. So one has to be very organic, and if things may not work, let's say you have a band or you have a disturbance or you feel unsafe, I think you should quickly move to the to the next plan. So yeah.
Now, one more question. We won't let you go. Money, money, money. So, how expensive is this?
So, guys, again, when I took my journey, I was working like Lakshmi. I worked for 10, 11 years, but I never saved. I always used to earn and spend it off. But as Lakshmi just said that she one day decided to quit media job just like that, it suddenly came to me in September 21 that what am I doing in life? Sorry, September 20, and I just chugged my job. Obviously, that said, pockets should not be empty. I'll give you a ballpark figure. I was driving solo and not traveling solo, which meant that I was driving a Scorpio car, which also involves fuel. And 8 months across India, it costed me around 4.5 lakh. Now, that is a ballpark figure because I traveled only in villages without guides and hotels. But that said, let's say you're talking about money now that I'm not in a full-time job and also in a village and in a forest patch. So what I do is that I take up a lot of freelancing assignments. Like how Sukriti said, currently I'm with the NASA Academy at Singapore, teaching rural content to African and Southeast Asian students. You can do content writing and all of that. And I think गांव में तो गाइस एक चीज ये भी है कि अगर मैं फ्रीलांसिंग सिटी में रह के करती हूँ तो मेरे एक्सपेंसेस आर proportionate to that. Currently, I'm in Orissa. My expenses have reduced like 20x than what I was incurring in Gurgaon. So obviously, my freelancing can support that. So I hope that you resonate with that a little bit.
Now, next to Neha. Neha, let's talk about boredom and etc. for the first time traveler. What should they keep in mind, and what's your favorite destination? And I think we're also getting a question from the audience, which we can also ask that do you guys, especially in Wiki, organize trips and connect like-minded people? So go ahead, Neha. Love to hear from you.
Sure. So this is the question that comes to most of the people traveling alone. How will I spend time alone? There's no one to interact with. I've always traveled with my friends or in groups, etc. So nevertheless, there are few tips to overcome boredom. and get the most of your journey. And if you enjoy your own company, I'm telling you, nothing like it. First and foremost, choose your accommodation very wisely. So a lot of people, when traveling solo, they prefer to stay in hostels or Airbnb. So make use of the hub, which is the common area, to interact with other travelers. You will find a lot of solo travelers who have the same interest joining you. Second, enroll for a class. You will find a lot of destinations that will offer courses like cooking class, photography class, yoga workshops, etc. And I think that's the best way to interact with local people and learn more about the destination. Third would be take a group tours. I've taken a lot of group tours, like the cycling tours. Then you have walking tours. You have day tours, night tours. The best way again to interact with people and the best way to know about the city. Fourth, if you love spending time with yourself, go to a restaurant, go to a shop, a coffee shop. You will find freelancers or people who have the same interest there as well. Also, you will find amazing books where you can read, you can enjoy your coffee, go to restaurants, enjoy a good local meal with a good cocktail while listening to live music. And trust me, you will enjoy your time alone.
And Neha, how do you convince the husband? This is a lot of questions coming up in the chat.
I'm single, so I would not.
So single people have it easier.
I will let the married people talk here then.
But I'll come back to that question then.
Sure.
But I want to hear about your favorite destination.
Oh my God, there are so many now, covering almost 27 states. Is difficult to shortlist too, but if I would pick up two, it would be Ladakh and Karnataka. Leh Ladakh has my heart. I love that place. I've been to Leh Ladakh a number of times and I can never get bored of it. Crystal clear, you have crystal clear skies, the highest mountain passes, amazing food, people are so nice, monasteries. And there's a really weird story. When the pandemic was there in 2020, it had almost started in the month of July. I was called by the Ladakh Tourism Board. It was like a solo trip only, and I went. It was it felt that I am the only tourist there, and I went to places where only locals were allowed. So I think I had the best solo trip then. But Ladakh would be my favorite.
I think Ladakh is also on, I think, lots of people's lists.
Yes, I have done a biking trip also from Manali to Ladakh. So, and my second favorite destination would be Karnataka, courtesy my tenure with Karnataka Tourism. I have explored each and every destination in Karnataka, from North Karnataka to South to coastal. Karnataka is such a diverse state, it has so much to offer, right from river to jungle lodges, to mountains, to beaches. You have UNESCO heritage sites. So Karnataka would be my second favorite.
Now, Amita is saying we can plan a trip, ladies. Guys, we can't plan a trip
sure.
together. We're supposed to go solo. We can plan the trip and we each go solo. No, but very exciting, Neha. Love them both. Can you tell us specifically in Karnataka? Because like you said, it's such a vast state. Where to go? Because I think a lot of times we get confused, in picking where.
Sure. So if in Karnataka, I have to pick up, say, 3 places, it would be Hampi, Coorg, and Udupi for me. Udupi for the crystal clear, amazing beaches. Coorg for the amazing hill station that it is. Hampi for the UNESCO heritage sites, Stone Chariot and all. Yes, so these are the 3 places that I would pick in Karnataka.
Thank you. And we're going to come back now to the married women. Whoever is married, please raise your hand because you're going to have to answer that question. How to convince the hubby. So coming back to you, Kavya, what's your next favorite destination and which you think is easily doable for a first-time solo traveler?
Okay, yeah, because I said to someone, I think it was Smita or someone, they said, okay, how to start? So I was like, okay, start with something easy. I would say that if it's something else that I need to pick, it would be Madhya Pradesh. It is beautiful again. It is very well connected. Now, this is a point that we often ignore, that a place should be very, very well connected with wherever you're located. So let's say whether you are in Delhi, Bombay, Bangalore, which is like the major hubs, I feel MP is centrally located, which gives us enough room. And you can easily do a Bhopal X trip and explore the areas around. And I feel that it has a great mix of landscape, heritage, crafts, a lot of rural, flavor to it. And plus, at the same time, the people are very, very simple. There's good, relatable food, which possibly sometimes in Northeast or Eastern Belt, it may get a little difficult. So I feel MP is one of my favored areas.
Oh, awesome. Very nice. And are you married or single?
Single for life.
Sorry, guys, we can't help you with your questions so far.
No, but guys, since it's an all girls group, I'm going to tell you, and this is just a very, very personal anecdote, and I never shy away saying that I was child wedded when I was, because I am from Bikaner, and that's something that I never shy away from. It happened when I was just 15 years old, but thankfully our parents were very modern, and the community is just like that. We take it like that. So whomsoever I got married to, well, the details are not important. He just went to France as he was growing up, and we just decided, oh, you know what, this was just one of things that the family did. And families also never forced us, and so those are things that happen still in parts of Rajasthan, whether it's Jaisalmer, Jodhpur, or Bikaner. But then slowly, I think the communities are growing, and thankfully, I was relieved of that Shadi ka laddu. So yeah.
Awesome. And Smita is saying Orcha in MP is beautiful. Now I'm going to have to
Yes.
ask this because I am also very confused. Is Orcha in UP or in, because it's next to Jhansi? So, is it in MP or in UP?
MP.
No, it is MP. MP.
Oh, awesome. All right. Because yes, Orcha is absolutely beautiful. And coming to you now, Lakshmi. Lakshmi, we want to hear your second and where to go on an economical budget, Lakshmi, and your second favorite
I was going to
destination.
say Rajasthan, but Rajasthan is not economic by any stand. And Kavya would agree with that. But my favorite has been Rajasthan because I've done many tours in Rajasthan. And I find if you look beyond, the main cities, which is Jaipur, Udaipur, Jodhpur, and you really see the real rural rustic. Like I've done long drives. I was doing some work with Rajasthan tourism, and I've gone on long drives, solo travel, both public transport and private transport, stayed in like the government hotels, but stayed in homestays. And we've gone into like really rural areas. The Shekhawati region is mind blowing. Bundi is another gem. If in and around between Jodhpur and Jaisalmer, when you drive, you see so many beautiful places. In and around Udaipur itself is just stunning. And I just love Rajasthan only because it's so rich in colors and heritage. It's like it just hits you. It's like it's like a pop-up. You just go there and you're like, where do I look? You see colors, you see monuments, you see crafts, you see food. Oh my God, the food there. In fact, if those photos I was able to share, you would have seen I had like so much of tons of food photographs. And I found, and you'll find a stepwell in the middle of nowhere. You'll hear a ghost story in the middle of nowhere. I've heard like some really weird stories. My driver told me this story about how his eldest uncle was married to a churel. Churel, am I getting the pronunciation right? And he didn't know for many, many years, till one day she just, showed her true self. And I was like driving and I'm like, yeah, right.
That's
I really
scary.
need the story right now. But there are so many ghost stories. I mean, there are temples where they, exorcise ghosts. And I remember I was in Jaisalmer and I was really tired when we were going up the fort, and I just decided I'll just plonk myself down in one of those where all the because Jaisalmer fort is a living fort, so I just decided I'll just sit with some of the locals and talk to them and just chill for a while. And this one guy decided he wanted to line maro, and he wanted to start impressing me. So I just thought, okay, let me chabi him and listen to some stories. And he went on to tell me about how once he was possessed and how he woke up and what happened to him and how he realized that there was a different voice in his throat. And I mean, at one level, it was like watching some movie or rather listening to some crazy movies. But that's the best thing. I've had auto drivers coming and telling me in Rajasthan saying, "Madam, please give me a thumbs up on TripAdvisor. I am safe for solo women." And then, bang shops calling me and saying, "Come, let's drink bang together. Ye bahut safe hai," and all of that. So I just love that state. It's something really exotic about it.
So, two questions though. First, what is economical and where can somebody go? And then Ekta is asking, when traveling solo, is it advisable to book everything in advance or do it impromptu after reaching the destination?
Okay, so I'll take one question at a time. So I think Kavya had spoken a lot about the money part of it. So economic is something which is very, what do I say? It's very, it's very personal, right? What is economic to you may not be economic to me. There are, for instance, when I started traveling, I'll give my example. When I started blogging, I called myself a backpacker because I would, stay in hostels and I would stay in backpacking. And now, all said and done, I want some creature comfort. I prefer homestays. I prefer boutique hotels. I'm not only when if I get sponsorships, I'd stay in a 5-star. But otherwise, I would want some basic comfort. I would want some basic. More than comfort, it's like I'm doing solo travel. I'm constantly on my guard. I'm also experiencing. I'm driving all the time. At least the place I want to come back to, I want a sense of refuge and a sense of safety out there. So economic is something we have to decide from person to person. So how I do it is I chart out a budget for a trip, and I start looking at how much money first of all I can afford, and then I put a plan around it, and then now of course since we've been doing this for almost 15-20 years, I start looking at where I can who are the clients I could do maybe a barter deal with, or maybe someone whom I could do some work with, or maybe I could do some collaborations with, some places where I could do a paid gig. So I start looking at figuring out, obviously I will not sell my soul because, I don't want to end up going there and then filling my entire trip with just assignments. So I would obviously choose the ones that, also kind of resonate with me, and then work backwards and say, okay, so this is what I have now I need to fund for, and then figure out, I also always have a travel kitty. So I always keep putting aside a certain sum of money every month towards a travel kitty, be it an international trip or a domestic trip or wherever I go. And from that kitty, I start working backwards to seeing how much can I how much can I earn or how much can I save before a trip, like an entrepreneur thinks, like you want to first cut the cost. Then I start looking at how can I earn out of this trip. Can I write 4 stories somewhere? Can I create content elsewhere? How much of it is going to be my own content? How much of it is going to be? So sometimes it may not happen immediately. It may take 6 months. It may take 1 year. I'm still probably trying to work on content that I created, many, many years ago. So you'll have to constantly keep yourself a little bit on the, think of money, very important when you plan this as a career, because it's not all about saying, oh, I'm going to pack my bag and it's all about, fun and excitement and glamour kind of a thing. Money is a reality when you're talking about travels.
Now, this question that's come up, do you book everything ahead of time or is it better to do
Okay,
it when you reach
so
the destination?
this question, yes and no. There are certain things that I'd like to keep in hand. Obviously, I start booking my accommodation well in advance. If I'm planning to stay for a longer time, then I will not book my return ticket. But if I have clarity that I have only 4-5 days this month to spend on my travel, and then I stay put in one place, and then I just book my return, and I don't try to do multiple trips in that 4-5 days. So it depends on the trip itself. But I do not plan my itineraries. I do not plan where I want to go. I do not plan day-to-day travels. All that happens when I am in that particular destination.
One last question, Priyanka Rai is asking, is it safe to travel to Kashmir solo? And how many days and which places do you recommend?
Okay, disclaimer, I didn't go to Kashmir solo. I went with my husband, but I felt it was pretty much safe. I saw a lot of people there traveling solo, both Indian and international travelers. It is very important that we keep a kind of a handle on the political climate when you plan your trip. And this is something I keep telling everybody, that just always check. And this is the only time I think I read newspapers and check the news. Or, and you get a sense. And if you have friends in and around Kashmir, it's always good to get the real side from them, because media misrepresents all the time. But if you get to understand the political climate a bit, otherwise it's very safe. People are genuine, people are real, people are hospitable. They love talking to you. They know that you're here as a guest, and the Kashmiris are the best when it comes to hospitality. So I have traveled almost 10 to 15 days in Kashmir. I went with my husband. Like I said, we stayed in Nagin Lake instead of the famous Dal Lake. It was much quieter and beautiful. I spent a lot of time in Srinagar. I kept Srinagar as my base for a long time and kept exploring. We went and checked ruins like Anandpur Temple. We also went to various other places. Then we went to Gulmarg, Pahalgam, the usual tourist circuit. And then if you have time and if you have, I went to this very interesting place, I must say, called Yusmarg. And this is a place they believe where Jesus Christ had come. And that's why it's called Yusmarg. And it's one of those not so well known compared to Sonmarg and Gulmarg. And it's just absolutely pristine. You can go on a horse ride. You can just spend hours doing nothing there, and it's just bliss. And if anybody is more interested, you should buy this book called Jesus Was, I think, Born in India or something like that. There's a story. There's a whole controversy, but there's a book about him and Kashmir connection, and it's a brilliant book.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you. Now over to you, Priya. We're looking for some trekking, and where should we go? What can be cheap and sweet also? Priya, you're muted.
Yeah, so one of my favorite treks has been my first trek, which I did. And that was a trek to Hemkund Sahib. I mean, it was actually the trek to Valley of Flowers. And after we did Valley of Flowers, we actually went to Hemkund Sahib. And Hemkund Sahib is actually the Sikh shrine, which is at a height of, which is at an elevation about 15,000, I think, and higher. And this was something I wasn't prepared for at all, because this was my, like I said, this was my very first trek. We were already very, very tired, because I just think we went on a whim. We hadn't prepared. I wasn't really prepared for trekking then. And when we did Hemkund Sahib, it was just, a steep incline, which just went up and up and up. I mean, there was no, there was no way, there was no point where it actually went down and up again, like tracks really do. It just went up. So at some point, we were really tired. We were absolutely exhausted, and all along the way there were these small shops where you would get this, Maggie and stuff like that. But what was really amazing for me was that there were so many devotees, Sikh devotees, who were going to the shrine, and it was amazing to just see that people wearing, these, you had these Sikh Nihangs who actually just wore this long shirt with this huge turban. Their feet were bare, and they were walking up these steps. And it was amazing to see that they could do it, I think, simply because of their spirituality and devotion. I mean, you could just see them chanting as they walked up. And then when we finally got there, and all of us were feeling a bit dizzy and tired because of the altitude, we got this hot, lovely kheer, which was just simply amazing. And it's a day trek actually from this place called Gangaria. So you have to come back because they close down after lunch and the weather gets really bad. So we were completely exhausted when we got back, but it was just so amazing. I mean, I would actually recommend this trek. I know it's a difficult trek, but if you are interested in trekking, this was my first trek, and I would really, ask people to do that trek. I really loved it. And plus, of course, the additional bonus is the Valley of Flowers. Nothing better than just going and seeing this huge, amazing carpet of flowers everywhere. And of course, you see that along the path to Hemkund also. So you see, the blue poppy, you see the cobra lily, you see the Brahma Kamal. That's like an absolutely amazing sight. And I just had the guide who was so frustrated with the way I was taking photographs that he just grabbed the camera from my hand and he took all the photographs. So I have this amazing, sort of this folder full of beautiful photographs of these flowers. And I have actually a Brahma Kamal plant in my house, and that blooms just once a year, and it's so amazing to actually see it. And it always reminds me of this trek. And I think that for me, every trek, even though there is a destination, I think at every point in the journey, when you do stop at places, those places are really special, even though you're just spending a night there or whatever. And so there's one more place I actually want to talk about. which is actually called Dancing. And this place is, it really reminded me of Ice Station Zebra, because if people have seen the movie, and I'm sure some of you have, it's this absolutely eerie place which is covered with snow and rocks, absolutely quiet. There's just a tin shed over there, and some camping ground where people can pitch their tents. But the beauty of the place is absolutely amazing. You can actually see Kanchenjunga from there if you're lucky. And for me, it was a mesmeric sight, and I actually wrote a poem about it, which got published. So I just fell in love with the place, and we had to stay there for 3 nights because of a snowstorm. And it was also raining and snowing, so we had to wait there before the weather cleared up. So it was uncomfortable. I mean, we were sleeping on these wooden pallets, and we had to share rooms with this very vociferous group of youngsters who came in, and who were playing music till 2 in the night. But we also sort of competed with them by singing Antakshari in our horrible voices. And it just, I mean, that's an experience I'll never forget. I mean, I just think I would love to do that trek again. I mean, it was just fantastic. So, but every trek of mine has always been special. And so of late, I've just been doing treks a lot. I mean, it's more than visiting, other places. I thought that before I hit 60, I should do as many treks as I can. And then I can, sort of go regular travel again. Because by
So
then I'll be
tell
too
us something. Yeah. Some people are asking though, if you're starting off as a solo traveler, what is the duration that you should keep your first trip so that you keep your enthusiasm high and you don't kind of burn yourself out?
I think a
Well,
week is good. What do you think? Oh,
if
sorry.
you're doing a trek, sorry, if you're doing a
Doing
trek,
a
then
trek,
I
a
would
trip,
say not more than 3 or 4 days to get I mean, because I think it's really it's tough. Doing a trek is tough, and you need to be acclimatized and used to that. So I think you need to kind of stick to 3 4 days. But I think if you're going to be doing a trek, if you're just going to, sorry, if you're going to be doing a regular solo travel in other parts of the country, then it really depends on what you want to see and where you want to go. I mean, my trips have generally been between a week to 10 days at a stretch. And and then I feel that I need to come back and put pen to paper and write an article or something like that, and then go back, because 10 days is all. And then I sort of want to get back home again. So I think 10 days is actually a good time if you want to do a regular visit somewhere.
Now, question for all of you. A lot of people are asking, where do you get information? Where to go? Where can you go? Where is safe to go? What are some good websites? Of course, what does Wiki provide? Where should women go to find all this information?
Okay,
Anybody? Go ahead.
I think I can just while guys, never go to Instagram. As much as we all are hooked on Instagram and
So
we are very
Instagram,
active
so
there.
everybody was asking for your Instagram handles right now.
No. I mean, we will happily give you our Instagram handles, Lakshmi, me, myself, Neha, Priya. Happy to have a chat there. But if you're looking for information, please don't look at Instagram reels. They are the worst places to look for information because it's all about aesthetics. I would say that long form content will never die. Lakshmi is doing a great work in putting a newsletter. There are so many blogs. Particularly now, why I started rural traveling only was because there was lack of information around rural travel. So you would find probably 100 blogs around Goa, but you would not find a single blog on a village in Chhattisgarh. And I felt that probably somewhere we need to bridge that gap. So there are a lot of research papers also by government time to time, which you can simply Google up. Well, Google is the only place, but then you have to really Google up seriously. And I feel long form content, which is blogs, a lot of research papers, sometimes even papers. So let's say if you are interested in finding out an offbeat destination, there are a lot of colleges like rural management colleges, NIFTs that put out where students put out their papers on Google, which actually gives you a lot of information about the crafts of that area, the village, the nearest waterfall, or even homestays for a while. And then, of course, books, but that is something that everyone cannot have access to. It's a huge space for books. But I think when I look at, I think I would suggest that Lakshmi, Priya, and Neha also share that their bit. So I would say long form content in a big manner, and primarily a lot of research papers, at least for rural travel. But that is my area. But I would love to listen to my fellow mates as well.
Yes, go ahead, Neha. I know because we
Sure.
can't see you, sorry.
I know. So, there were, first of all, there were two questions that were asked by the audience. First, is Kashmir safe? So, I had traveled, I did a solo trip to Kashmir. I went to Pahalgam, Gulmarg, and Srinagar. So, it's an absolute myth that Kashmir is not safe for women. It's absolutely safe. So, go ahead as a solo traveler. Secondly, according to me, for me, easy, doable places would be Udaipur in Rajasthan. It's extremely budget friendly. You have great hostels, Airbnb, lovely food, great and helpful people. You will love the folk dances of Rajasthan. Second would be Goa. It's a place that caters to
Now, Goa, you said is affordable.
it is affordable. It's a place that caters to every kind of people. You have hostels, Airbnb in every nook and corner. Whether you enjoy time yourself, you can sit at the beach for hours and hours. If you're a party animal, Goa has a vibrant nature. It's a different city altogether. Again,
I love Goa. It's my
I love Goa.
favorite.
I can go there 100 times and never get bored. Second would be Pondicherry, if considering a beach destination, and McLeodganj for a backpacker. If you're a mountain lover, you love trekking, then McLeodganj would be for me. Someone also asked about, some saving some extra money. How do you do that? So, whenever I travel solo, I always plan in advance. I do a thorough research of the place when I'm before I travel. I think it's really important to know the place beforehand also, so that you are well aware of, what the place has to offer. And to save some extra money, I think you can always look for some great travel deals. There's some great travel deals that keep going on, on Make My Trip, Hostel World, Yatra, Clear Trip. Then I end up always staying in Airbnbs because I don't usually have my dinner, lunch outside. I cook for myself. So I end up saving a lot of money on that too. So yes.
And Neha, where do you find information? Like I know you said hostel, this, that, but where do you find information that's genuine and stuff about places that you can visit that are safe and good for solo travel?
Sure, Sukriti. So now everything is there on the internet, right? So even if you like, let's suppose, let's pick up any place. Let's suppose you want to go to Goa. Even if you just type Goa on Google, you will have n number of blogs. You will have n number of information giving you about Goa. What I do is I usually go to all these online travel portals. I have worked for online travel portals as well. So I go to all the online travel portals. You have blogs written by bloggers. You have recommendations given by bloggers. Where can you stay? Where can you eat? Which are the places to visit? Then I look at different sites. It's not only one site that I look at. I look at different sites. And then I come to a conclusion. Where do I have to visit?
Thank you, Neha. Lakshmi, I know you have to run, so we'll take your thoughts.
No, it's okay. I don't go online. I don't go too much to being a blogger myself. I know how bloggers write. It's all SEO driven. So I avoid internet as much as possible. I only go to the bloggers I know because I know the ones who really write long form writing. But as much as a blogger, I started out as a newspaper writer and a columnist. I've written for almost I've written almost 500 articles across various newspapers. So I still feel that being a travel journalist is a lot more authentic than writing for the internet and for portals. So I look at content largely there. But quick info that I just need, like on the go and stuff like that, I would just scan through whatever is available, from the first portal or first thing I read. Some very good bloggers I know in various parts who are experts in certain destinations. I definitely read them. Like Kavya said, long form, really authentic bloggers who don't write for SEO, bloggers who don't write for optics and Instagram, bloggers whose content is a little more deeper. Even if they write 500 words, I know that there is a lot more of depth in their content. And being a storyteller myself, I resonate with that content. And the third biggest information source for me, like I said, I don't plan my itinerary until I go to a destination, I don't research. I still like the aura of curiosity. I don't like to bombard myself with info. And when I started traveling, I started traveling, maybe I sound like a fossil, but I started traveling in the pre-internet, pre-mobile phone era. And so at that time, the the curiosity value was much more, the excitement was real, it was more heightened. Every little thing felt so exciting out here. So now you're just bombarded with content and brochures, everything all over the place. The whole real joy of going to a place is sometimes lost. So I don't like, so I pick up my content from the destination, and my authentic source has always been locals, drivers, auto drivers, chaiwalas, young kids who have taken me to hidden destinations, offbeat destinations. I still remember this little child who narrated the story of the Natwara temple in near Udaipur. A bunch of kids who've taken me to an amazing stepwell near Halabid called Hulikare. So many of my stories have come from watchmen to drivers to the locals. And that is where I love their storytelling and their information. And whenever I write, I always say that, this was narrated by my auto driver, or this was my guide from this. I always attribute the content to them as well. So that's where
coming to that point of Lakshmi, I would with her, the best way to know about the destination is meeting the locals. They would tell you so much more. They would tell you so much more about the destination. It's just
and you just have to tell them what you want.
Exactly. And they would have,
like Kavya mentioned, they know if you're a person who's just coming to take selfies or you're in it for storytelling. They'll know you. Even if I want to take a room break and I go into, we've discussed toilets, and there are many times I've knocked on people's doors and can I use your toilet? Even if it's an open area, but I know at least it's a safe. Like if I see 3 women in the house, I go and ask them, and they generally give me a cup of coffee. I've always found that the moment they know you, they know that you're interested, they know your true intent, and they'll tell you the kind of stuff that you want to know.
Totally.
Well, thank you guys.
I think I would add a little to that, to Lakshmi's point, Sukriti, just taking that leeway, because Lakshmi hit that right spot. And I'm literally, guys, I'm giving you a hack. Now, this hack is something that I always follow, because every time I don't have friends in every village I go, right? So how do I just manage to enter? So the hack is that if you're traveling solo, like completely solo, you have to sit at a chai ki tapri, which will be everywhere in any town that you're entering, or any village ka entrance. Okay, you just have to sit there for 30 minutes and be patient, and not take out your cameras and mobile, and just sit and enjoy 2 cups of chai. Eventually there'll be people. Initially they'll look at you, just be natural, and it's literally a hack. Then they'll say, "Acha, aap yahan kaise aaye?" And then the conversation just starts. You just have to ask, "Oh, I came here. Do you know of something? Do you know of this craft? Do you know which villages?" And they will just keep guiding you, and it's literally a hack you can try. But try with that whole judicious thing that I said. Don't take out mobiles and camera, and maybe you'll thank me for that.
All right. So one point
I want to add.
One last tip.
Last point.
One last tip from each one of you.
Okay. Well, fine. That was what I was going to say. Then I'll start with my tip then.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. The one and only tip, and I say this in almost every forum and every article I've written, and it's exactly what Kavya said. Please blend in with the crowd. You wear sunglasses and caps, and take out your fancy mobiles and phones, whether it's India or abroad. Solo travel safety tips is all about, blending in with the crowd. And that's my one and only tip.
Thank you. What about you, Priya? What's your tip?
So my tip is that, when people go on a solo travel or anything, they always assume that they're the center of attention, and you're not the center of attention. I think you're there, you're an observer, and you're, learning from people's experiences. So don't go there thinking, are people looking at me? Do they want something from me? I don't think they do that. I think you, on the other hand, are actually learning stuff from them. So don't assume that people are out to get you. Just go there and enjoy the experience. Be part of what you see.
Thank you. Neha, your last tip?
Yes, I hope we have motivated the audience enough to already.
They are. I think everybody
Go
wants to
solo.
travel. We're waiting now.
My tip maybe don't wait for anyone. Whenever you are up for an adventure, pack light, take your stuff and just go for it. After doing so many solo trips now, trust me, you will love it. You will become so confident. You will become empowered. You will love the idea of going solo. And I'm going solo now. I'm going to Meghalaya next week. I'm already excited.
Take us with you. Kavya, your last tip as we end for today.
Okay. I was just
I know
thinking
you
about
gave your
one.
tip. I'm taking one more.
No. I have another hack. I have another hack, guys, because a lot of people keep asking, oh, how do we finalize which village to go? Because there are so many villages, because I just travel rural. So the hack is that you have to go 50 kilometers outside wherever you are. So just put on Google anything that comes 50 kilometers outside and start traveling to villages, whether it's Delhi, Bangalore, Bombay, wherever, in whichever part you are. And that's how you can start traveling solo, particularly in rural India. And I'll just stick to that because it's not that difficult. People have made village travel like a big deal, that are they hygienic? How do you communicate? But it's as simple as going 50 kilometers away from any point, wherever right now we are logged on, and you can start traveling solo like that. So that's a
Well,
little hack.
thank you guys so much. I'm like vicariously, I feel like I've gone all over India. Much needed in this kind of situation where we're all locked in our homes. So thank you, Neha, Kavya, Lakshmi, and Priya. And thanks to Wiki. Great work. Thank you for promoting all these destinations. Thank you for bringing them to us. And we're going to have these ladies back with some other tips, hopefully in the future. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much,
Thank you,
Sukriti.
Sukriti.
It
Thank
was
you for
very
having us.
interacting. Yeah, thank you so much for having us.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. It
Thank
was such a
you.
lovely talking about travel, even though we are not traveling right now.
Seriously.
We were also vicariously traveling.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you,
Bye.
guys.
Thank you. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye.